Good evening, everybody. Welcome. And I want to say hello to all of our attendees out there. So happy to see so many of you show up for our kind of the first Wales Derby After Hours. So behind the scenes with Wales Derby After Hours, a look inside Takeo, where it all began. That's what today's title is about. My name is Anthony Tossi, Wales Derby, New York. I have Rick Costa, as you see. Our webcam should be up. Everyone should be looking at Dave Holdorf from Takeo, he's a local boy here on Long Island, myself, and Rick Costa, South Shore of Long Island. So if you're all hearing us and seeing us, just put in the chat box, everything's good. And we will have some fun for the next 60 minutes on what this topic is gonna, peel back a little bit like an onion, and we'll see what we can find out, something new about Takeo and what's current and what's old and maybe what the future looks like. So thank you, Mr. Crean, Mr. O'Brien. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. So it looks like everything's on board. I want to give credit to Rick with our opening screen here. I mean, this is it. We're going to be live. So this is different than a training or some kind of approach to what we've done with webinars over the last 3 months. So Wales Derby really kind of shifted with what's happening around us, and Takeo as well. I mean, we've seen so many people come out of the woodwork with webinars, and we thought the next version should be something live, a little bit different, a little bit more relaxed, but have some kind of fun with it, educational always in some regards, to see where we can take this. So Dave and we will kind of have the banter back and forth. Rick will be in the background. Any questions, please feel free to put them up there in the chat box or your questions, and it'll be listed for us to hopefully take outward and listen to what's going on.
Awesome. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So, Dave, how are you this evening, buddy?
I am well. I am well today, man. It was a good day today. Couple of conference calls with the office. No webinars today except for tonight. With you guys. But like you're saying, this is a non-webinar. So, just working at the factory, so to speak.
Right.
As best as I can, and with everybody else. So I haven't been up in Rhode Island since the second week of December was the last time I was up at the factory, and it's driving me crazy right now. I miss getting up there. I actually got an email from one of the assistants up at the factory asking me about the old smart car. So the insurance card came in. So she's like, Dave, is the smart car at your house? I'm like, nah, it's up at the factory. She's like, are you really? And she's like, yeah. And she sent me that message a year ago about the same time, and the car was still up at the factory. I haven't been able to get it home from Rhode Island since May of last year.
I think you said a rep had taken it. Is that right? If I remember.
Was going to take it, yes, and he never came to get it.
Is that right?
So somebody up in Maine was going to use it for a while. So I do see a comment coming in from Joe that he can't hear us. So Joe, I think everybody can hear us all right. Let us know if it comes back online for you.
Joe, what we recommend is if you go to your audio, just click out of the phone or your PC into the phone. Just kind of switch from one mode to the other. Sometimes that gets you back online. Try that. Let us know. All right. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. So for those, obviously looking at this slide, thanks to Rick, and we were kind of collaborating a little bit. We wanted to have an open slide to kind of bring out what tonight was about as a visual. It's Takeo. That's the building up there in Cranston, Rhode Island. 100 years, 1920 to 2020. That's a one with 2 zeros after. That's pretty impressive to have a company this old right here in the United States. I mean, Cranston, Rhode Island. I mean, that's our backyard, and there's a lot of history in what we've experienced. I mean, I'm 20 some odd years with Wales Derby, but since '86 in the industry. So Takeo's always been a name in the shelves of the wholesaler or whatever. And, to have this close, finger on the pulse, so to speak, is what we do as a rep with a manufacturer like Takeo. And, it's a tremendous, experience. It really becomes something of an experience, so to speak, with what we try and do and promote with the products that they provide for us. So it's really an honor sometimes to say, you know, I represent Taco as a product, and it is Taco, right? So let's clarify that. You know, it's not taco. You know, because we always joke around and say taco is for eating and Taco is for heating. So let's just make sure we get that straight. So it's 4 letters, TACO, and you know, going back to 1920, they originally started in Elizabeth, New Jersey. So I really want to know, Dave, do you know the history as to why Elizabeth, New Jersey? Are they
Well,
really
that's
New Yorkers? Are the New
yeah.
Englands up there in the light of God coming behind the Taco sign? Are they really from New York, New Jersey? I mean, you know, can we debunk this whole thing about the Boston, you know, the Red Sox? I mean, come on.
I know they're locals, man. They're locals here.
I
Exactly.
really want to know. I want a bloodline. Who do they know in Jersey? What part of Jersey?
I don't know where Johnny White's grandfather was from Elwood, where he lived in New Jersey, but they actually purchased a small little tiny company with 3 employees, and they were making fire pot generators.
What the
And
hell's a fire pot?
I have no idea. I still haven't looked it up myself. So, but that's what the company was kind of making at the time. It really wasn't going anywhere.
Okay.
And they had ideas about making heat exchangers and introducing domestic hot water into residential systems, into residential houses and even apartment buildings. So because you know a lot of houses, well, didn't really have a lot of heat in them just yet. Maybe steam heat. A lot of
Right.
apartment buildings had steam heat, and so they made this sidearm water heater that was tapped into the steam boiler side of things.
That's
So
pretty.
as you can see in that picture that Anthony's sharing on the bottom left of the corner, that's Elwood White, the owner,
That's Elwood,
and
huh?
that's Elwood, yes.
Oh, all right.
And right next to him is one of the original heat exchangers. So you'll see the couple of tappings on there. The tappings on the left hand side is for the domestic cold water coming in, and out of the top and bottom was steam tapped into the steam boiler.
It's like a little
So
clamshell almost. Looks like it's like a casing with a coil. So that's kind of cool.
correct, right, right. So that helped, and so they started that in New Jersey, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and so that's how Taco got its roots. And we weren't known as Taco back in 1920.
Okay.
So the name of the company was known as Thermal Appliance Company,
Right.
as
TACO.
right. And the reason why it got changed to TACO is, it was easy to put the name Thermal Appliance Company across the side of that heat exchanger in the casting. But that thing made such copious amounts of hot water, as in temperature. There was no codes like we see today when it comes to water
Sure.
temperature. So it made such a hot water, it actually forced Taco to invent their second product, which ended up being a mixing valve.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
that got quite small.
Right. It got smaller, so you couldn't put the name Thermal Appliance Company on it. So it got shortened to T.A.CO.
Gotcha.
And
The
yep. So that's where
appliance company.
the Taco name came from, and because nobody knew to pronounce it taco back
Right.
in the 20s.
Sure.
They
Sure.
just pronounced it as Taco. Yep.
Yeah. Well, no one heard of Corona until recently too. Or, like whatever. I'm just saying, like it was a long time before. So yeah, I was doing my history a little bit on and knowing it's 100 years. So I said, 1920, right? So 2020 minus 100 is 1920, and he was like, what was going on back then? And trying to think of the beginnings. Think about 1920. What's going on? Where's America at that point, right? So I think we're in or just about to enter World War I. But then I also read something about a pandemic called the Spanish flu. And I'm like, wow, history just repeated itself. And that was in 1918. I think it was for 2 years. And it went to about April of 1920, rather. So think about that. Almost to the day, 100 years later, now we have this other pandemic, right? And
Yeah.
what are they telling us to do now? Like all these things that are based on washing your hands with warm or hot water. So I'm thinking, like, why Taco? Like, we know Taco to be the heating company, right? And now, you're telling me back in 1920 they started on the hot water production for domestic. And I'm wondering, well, I wonder if there was some influence to, this pandemic that was, 100 years ago. That was kind of like the nucleus of where Taco started on that side. You
Yeah,
know, it's,
I would assume so, just based upon the times of the the company going and just starting. So I would assume they wanted to concentrate on it because one, it was a new market, right?
absolutely.
It didn't have there wasn't a lot of people that had hot water in their homes. So
Right. So
um,
plumbing, indoor plumbing was relatively new or for the very rich, perhaps. And, now you got this pandemic and people are freaking out like I imagine people would be today. They probably have less services, think about 100 years ago in medical and 100 years in comfort and all those things. Like what were they doing to wash their hands, boiling water and, kettles. And so here's Takeo come along with this idea, I thought that was pretty, state of the art, so to speak, finger on the pulse even 100 years ago.
yeah,
So
right, yeah,
that's
yep.
pretty
And
cool.
yeah, back in those days, it was one of Elwood's partners in the company was Robert Blanding, and he was an engineer, and he was actually had written or produced a couple of patents on those side-on water heaters with Robert Blanding. Um, Ironically, Robert Blanding also started another New England company way back when. Um, that's actually down the street from Rhode Island, in just
Connecticut?
outside of Providence. There, yeah, it's
Oh,
Amtrol.
right, Amtrol.
Robert Blanding started Amtrol, so
Hmm.
he had broke away from Takeo and started Amtrol down the road. So, but he was one of the guys that actually helped develop a lot of that domestic hot water heating things that we were doing at the time.
Right. Now, Takeo's a family-owned third generation or fourth coming on board. What is it? Third or fourth now?
Third generation running the company, fourth
Right.
generation is in the
In the
house.
wings. In the
Yep,
wings,
yep,
yeah. Right.
yeah.
And they're
So
doing
they
very
are
well.
there. So yeah, Johnny White, the current owner of the company, the CEO of the company now, and and it's very important to keep it as a family-run business too.
Sure.
And some people look at it saying, oh, you just want to keep it, for your family, so to speak, and that is true. Johnny does want to keep it for the family because he knows as a family-run business, you're a lot different of a company compared to a public-run company. So when you're a public-run company, it's hard to do. You respond to the shareholders.
Sure.
As a family-run business, you report to the employees.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the way Johnny looks at it. He looks at that company that the benefit is for his number one asset in the company is the
His people.
employees that he has working for him.
Very cool.
That's what he considers. So,
Yeah,
um,
I kind of understand that completely being with Wells Darby and how they're positioned as a family, again, third generation. And, it's there is a lot of that, always that family mentality approach and what we do and how we approach things right now. I mean, with all this, working, in the flip of a switch, thank God we had good IT people. They got most of our people out of the cubicles and working from home with this past 3 months. So, and then we're just now getting back into, this rolling soft launch of getting people back in. So there's different shifts but yeah, it's interesting to see. And as we've been up to Takeo many a times, I mean, he's so in your, in your space, so to speak. John White, as he comes through, he just loves to talk to people, and he's just a good-hearted man. He's a good guy. So
oh,
kudos,
excellent.
kudos
Yeah.
to him.
Oh
So,
yeah, I agree. It is a wonderful thing to hang out with Johnny. One of my early experience. I'm there at Takeo now 9 years.
I was going to ask you, how long you're there? 9 years, right?
Yeah, 9 years
That's
already,
that's the
man.
front of the building, right? Didn't you say that when they put this whole front of the building on here in the picture?
Exactly right. Yeah, I started a month after the grand opening of that. Yeah. So a grand opening happened, and I started a month later. So
Very nice.
I always joke around saying, "Oh yeah, thank you for building the training center just for me."
Exactly. That's funny. I used to tell Darby, Mr. Darby Bryan, I was like, I got the best office in the whole building. That was when they built the energy room by
The
us.
energy room, right, right, right.
That
Yep,
was
yep.
that was my office, and I used to come and show it off. Hey, before we kind of move off, I just want to point out, myself and Rick are part of a group, Contractor Services, and myself, obviously Rick Costa. We have Rob Clemens, John Resso, and Jim Napama. And I want to give special credit to Mr. Jimmy Fry. he basically he birthed Wales Derby from the very beginning, and I mean he's been there since. I think he's got afterbirth coming out of Mrs. Derby. He's been one of their sixth child or whatever. So kudos to Jimmy. He should really be on here, and I just want to say thank you for being a mentor and someone who's given me direction always. So thank you to Jimmy Fry. Thank you so much. Yeah, so going back to brick and mortar, as we see here, it's such a strong material to build out of, and it lasts forever. So, we're curious: is this the only facility that Taco has? Where are they outward from Rhode Island?
So after in 1920, we were in New Jersey and I lived up in New Jersey, and then after that, we left New Jersey in 1927. And moved up to Providence, Rhode Island. And the reason for the move up to Rhode Island is there was a lot of manufacturing in
So
Rhode
not even
Island
Cranston
itself.
yet. You were in Providence.
We were in Providence, yes, yeah.
Wow,
So
okay.
Cranston didn't happen until 1954. So they were in a small building in Providence that they were renting. And in the 50s, they bought that building that you see there. Obviously, not with the addition. What you see from the clock tower forward is the brand new addition that went on. But from there back was an original building that used to store the trolley cars and service the trolley cars that service Providence, because Cranston is only a few miles outside of Providence. So so they converted that building into Taco, what it is now. Then from there, they expanded to Fall River, Massachusetts, which is our ASME welding facility that does the large storage tanks and heat exchangers and flat plates are done up there. And expansion has been on the mind of Taco for the last 10 years. So I'm not sure when Fall River was started, but it's been there for at least 20, I'm going to say. And there's about 100 employees that work up there.
It's always been in the vernacular since I've been 22 at Derby, so I would say it's right around that, if not 25, maybe.
It could be longer. Yeah, it could be longer. And from there, the expansion started, and I'm going to say in around 2013 or so, a company by the name of HydroFlow was added to the fold of Taco, and they were based out of Tennessee that does vertical turbine pumps.
All right.
So they've been more or less on their own for the last bunch of years. We've really started to bring them in within the last 2 years and starting to change their name to Taco Industrial is what's happening now. So they are more falling under the Taco name now. The vertical turbine pump business is a totally different market than what we're used to. But it was a good purchase and expansion side of the company. And so that's in Tennessee, and they also have some manufacturing in Dallas also.
Dallas.
Yeah. I believe it was Dallas, somewhere in Texas. Yeah.
Is that for the United States footprint then?
For the United States, yep.
Okay.
And then from there, let's see,
Taco
20.
Italia.
I'm trying to think. What's that?
Taco Italia. We got Italy now.
I'm trying to think of the year for that one. I think that was 2016.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
2015.
Maybe 5 years about. Maybe 4
Yes, about
years.
that 5 years. Yeah, I know we started partnering with them. So in Italy, there was a manufacturer that was making ECM motors, and we had partnered with them to help design a U.S. motor, and turned out to be a pretty good partnership. And what ended up happening is they were looking at the company and how it was run and the people that were there, and they didn't have a really good succession plan, but they had the really good same ideas similar to Taco. So Johnny looked at it and wanted to add them to our fold. So we purchased them after a couple of years of working with them. And now we turn that into Taco Italia. And I completely forgot. With the purchase of HydroFlow, we got a stainless steel manufacturer. So, and that was based in Vietnam. So, and it was interesting because we didn't know it right away. So as they were going through the negotiations in purchasing HydroFlow, all of a sudden they saw on the books this stainless steel manufacturer. a casting manufacturer out in Vietnam, and Johnny's like, wait a minute now, I'm not sure about this. So he gets on a plane and flies out and takes a look at the place.
Man's
And
got to know.
he was kind of imagining sweatshop style place,
Mm.
and it was the cleanest, state of the art, well run facility that took care of the employees. Again, the same idea that, when he was looking at Taco Italia, and he says, okay, yeah, we can definitely add this to our fold.
I think
So
that's where Jimmy Fry got his hip from.
was
Yeah, no, I think that's where Jimmy Fry got his hip from. We should look into that. Probably a serial number or a model number.
we got a branded Taco on the inside there,
Yeah,
right?
he's probably got Taco parts in him. He doesn't even know.
So, yeah,
It
so
wasn't in
that
it
got
was-
us into that part of the market. What's that now? Sorry.
That was Hydroflow. That was part of Hydroflow, or
That was part of Hydroflow that we got into Vietnam.
Hmm.
Then Taco Italia was Askoll, Askoll was the name of the company.
Gotcha.
And as a New
That's
Yorker, I only say that once in a row. I don't say it twice.
That's a tricky word right there. That's a tricky word right there. You did good, Grasshopper. You did well. So
Yes. And then from there we expanded again, or re-expanded, so to speak. There was Johnny's father in the 80s had tried to bring the Taco brand into Europe.
Mm.
So the European market was really just, Taco was not exploring it whatsoever. And so, but his father had started a company called Taco Nova in the European market. And so it had operated for a few years, about 7-8 years or so, and it was just difficult to try to manage from across the pond. So they ended up selling it off, and they sold it off to the Guinness Group.
Interesting.
Yes, the beer guys.
Very cool.
And we recently purchased it back. So we purchased it back about 2 years ago.
And I'm sorry, what country is that in?
And they are in Switzerland.
Oh, Swiss. Okay.
Yep,
Wow.
yep. So now we have a European presence between Taco Italia and
Yeah.
Taco Nova. Yeah,
So you got 4 and then 3 outside the lower 48.
that's right. Yep.
So we are a global, not just American.
It is a global company based in Rhode Island. Yep, based in the U.S. Oh, I'm sorry. We can't forget.
Wait, there's more?
There's more. Taco Canada.
Oh.
Just outside of Ontario, yes.
Canada,
We do manufacture circulators up there too. So we're not doing our small double O's. We're doing the larger pumps up there, but we do manufacturing up at Taco Italia also. I mean, Taco Canada.
Do they come in snowshoes?
Listen, you had me at Guinness.
Yeah, Guinness, there you go. Just asking.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, not to kind of make this belittle it or whatever, but going back to when Taco was doing the hot water stuff, and then you think about where we are today, we still have a lot to offer, maybe with even what current issues are happening around us, in people's homes, and Taco is very much still on the plumbing side of the business. I don't know how much, people realize, I just want to point out in your handouts, I made sure that you guys are getting a copy of this. It's in your handouts. It's a PDF. This is a brand new catalog. This is the first time in a long time that Taco's really putting a lot of information in a very compact spot. I mean, they have a great website. They have a tremendous amount of information there, but this one I like a lot. I mean, and this is the dual, meaning heating and plumbing catalog. And they do then print a separate heating, and then they do print a separate plumbing one. So I did make sure you guys are going to see and have the availability of the PDF for the both heating and plumbing. But there's this thing has such amount of information. It's a great resource for anyone to kind of thumb through and see. And currently what we have on the domestic side or the plumbing side, it's growing. I mean, we see the opportunities to keep going and move in that direction with hot water delivery and conservation even, or people right now they're really concerned. Maybe they don't have, they're waiting for hot water, now, whatever, they have to wash their hands even more so, I don't know what the turnaround was 100 years ago, but think about when we kind of see the light turn the corner coming out of this thing, with us local, recent with this Corona stuff or the COVID. But, I was joking around. They're going to have to come to drag me out of this house. I don't know what they're going to do, They're going to have to send, a pill in the mail and say, Tassi, you're cured now, which I don't know if that's ever going to happen, really. Someone say I'm cured? No. But anyway.
Yeah, no, there's no cure for you, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I own it though. That's okay. I own it. That's fair enough, right? So, domestic is what for us? We have hot water moving through our pipes. We have pumps to move that water through our pipes. We don't sell pipes, right? Taco World, we sell that with another brand that we offer, but Taco has a circulator and more. I mean, we have smart circulators, I guess. So we have circulators that see scheduling and really reducing the waste of water going down the drain. Speed up, but yet reduced. Is that an oxymoron? Speed up, but yet reduce? I don't know. So.
Well, I mean, the other thing that we look at now with domestic hot water too, like you said, we've always been involved in it, but you say the name Taco, and the first thing everybody thinks of is 007, right? So, but we've always had the plumbing side of the business, and what we're also very, very conscious of it too, because it also can help deseasonalize us
right.
and you guys and the contractor base that's out there too, instead of just concentrating on heating stuff and only wait for when it gets cold to do some work, that we can also do a lot of plumbing, and also in the protection side of it, not just in the moving of the water, but also protect the house from any leaks and whatnot. So we really concentrate on a lot of that stuff, and there's a lot of new things coming out of Taco.
When you say protecting the house from leaks, leak detection, then you're saying?
Yeah, automatic shut-off valves, leak detection,
Cool.
leak monitoring systems, things like that, water monitoring. So with water monitoring, leak detections, a lot of things that we have on those side of things to really bring it up to a homeowner, because right now most homeowners, when they see us, they don't want to see us.
Right.
Because we're in there fixing something, and they gotta pay us when we leave.
Well,
So
I like the way that rings, right? They don't want to see us, but think about this now. They're spending so much time in their homes currently.
Yeah.
That the house is going to become the palace again. Like you heard and discussed in the backyard for the summer, people want pools. They want recreation in their own backyards, and that's the same thing. Now think about coming after the summer, and who knows, maybe we'll get into outdoor showers, like the idea of being outdoors more, but being in your own backyard. So, when we shift gears come October, then what? People are back inside again. So they're gonna look for that comfort, and Taco does both, the domestic and then of course what we do to keep people warm and comfortable. So that comfort is a big word. I don't know. I always I try to explain that to people. On the heating side, comfort means something different than heating. And you got to experience that. You really got to understand what the difference is. So I think we can really be a force in what we do and educate and what we do to sell and promote that comfort, whether it be domestic or heating. So it's good stuff.
Well, I always try when I do a training class, and I always, not every class, but every once in a while I'll bring it up to everybody in the room. What's the definition of comfort?
Yeah, right.
Really hard to actually
the thermostat
define it, right?
Yeah.
Right away, most of us sit there and think about what the setting is on the thermostat exactly. Is that your comfort?
My grandmother.
Well, no, there's a lot of things associated to comfort right now. And for most of us right now, what's one of the most important comfort things that you've got right now that you're touching?
My ass on the seat?
Yeah, the chair. The chair that you're in. We're spending so much more time sitting in these chairs, staring at these computer screens and cameras and stuff like that, right? So the way I look at comfort is the lack of uncomfortableness.
There you
go. So yeah, for Rick, it's a drink in his hand, right? Then you don't feel a thing. Everything's comfortable after that, right?
That's funny. That's funny.
I'm gonna put some radiant heat or radiant cooling for my seat over here, or what?
Yeah.
A few more drinks and you don't feel a thing. It all feels good. That's right.
So, Takeo with the plumbing side and recircing, bringing that comfort to the faucet. I asked the question, when was the first time you maybe experienced that word, right? Comfort. And for me, on the domestic side, believe it or not, it was at Takeo. It was when this building, I think in the very first beginnings, trainings, and think about what I do, what I sell, design, and for years, right? And then I go to the bathroom and I already,
Uh-oh.
there was no one else in there. There was like no purging of the pipes. I just went to one of those automatic, Sloan faucets or whatever. And it I just kind of like pulled my hands back. I'm like, wow, that was weird. Like, usually it's a delay,
Right.
you put
Yep.
your hand and then, it moves and then you do it again or whatever. But so it was like, wow, that was it right there. So
That was actually that was an important piece that we had to put into the building, so that those new bathrooms based on that new extension on the building was LEED certified, which
right.
means leadership and energy efficient design. So recirc is a very big deal in part of that criteria to get LEED certification on there. So yeah, we put hot water recirc in the building too. And for a lot of people, I mean, I live in hotels and
Right.
I'm on the road. Well, not lately, but 80 to 90 nights a year easily. And I'm used to that, and I always explain that to people when you go to a hotel and you turn the shower on, do you wait? Not like we do at home,
Right.
because they have a recirc system in there. So the
Interesting.
hotel that I bring you guys up to that we stay at.
The
all
brick
right,
house?
What's that?
Is that the brick house? Which one is it?
Yeah, that's the bar next door. Right.
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
bar. That's
Yeah.
the hotel. I'm sorry. The hell?
So-
I didn't know that. I pull off, I see the brick house.
So we have also Ironworks, not Brick House, Ironworks.
Ironworks. Thank you. That's
Ironworks.
Ironworks.
So we made sure that hotel also had a Takeo recirc system installed in there too. So, so when you're in that building, when you're in that hotel, you notice that hot water that is instantly there at all the fixtures every time. So, the first time not really necessarily experiencing comfort from the hot water side of things, but comfort for me was radiant heating. Not necessarily my own house. I had helped design a system in East Islip,
Okay.
and not far from you, Ant,
Right.
and St. Mary's Church.
Oh, yeah. They're doing very well. Sure.
So St. Mary's Church, Catholic Church over in East Islip, I had
Good
helped
thrift store. I
design.
think that's where I got my hat from.
I designed the radiant system to heat that church, and it's actually the church I got married in.
Oh, look at that.
And-
Little history down the road.
Yeah, so before we got married, I was in the church with my wife, and it was in the winter. It was like February, and they had it was on a Tuesday or a Wednesday that we had gone in there, and it was cold. They had turned the temperature down to like 60 degrees, and we walked in there, and it wasn't horrible for 60. I remember looking at the thermostats, and we had gone up to a second level to where the orchestra, where the band plays. And my wife says to me, "Oh my God, it's cold up here." And I turn to her and I say, "Yeah, isn't it awesome?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm
Yeah,
like,
what are you
"This is the first time that I've been able to, because that church was 35-foot ceilings in there.
Right.
And, I've always talked about radiant heating where it's warmer at the floors and cooler the further you get away. So once we came back down, you felt that radiant heat all around you, even though it was set for 65. My wife thought it was kind of cool, but then all of a sudden it felt a lot better because it was like 55 because we were 12 feet in the air.
Right.
And it was so much cooler up there. And I said, we've always talked about this, but I've never experienced it. And then
Interesting.
once you came down, you felt the radiant heat downstairs. It was pretty cool. And my
Yeah.
wife looks at me and she goes, "Yeah, you're just a freak." So,
Yeah, right. Well, I just learned something because I think we both experienced this thing, comfort, in the same town. Because my story and how I remember when I experienced not the faucet, but in my own home, I was in a new house. I was gutting it in respect to ripping baseboard out, and and putting radiant in. And I was hurrying because my dad was coming from Florida. I think it was like the first like late October, November, chilly day. I let the dog out. He was still alive at the time. So, I let him out and I'm open by the kitchen back door. And I think I may have stepped out or whatever, but and all of a sudden you get that coldness over you, you're nice and warm. But I remember when I turned around and went back in, and all of a sudden it was like an envelope. It was like I was just engulfed with comfort. It was not heat anymore. It wasn't like this blast of heat or, it was just like this amazing dropping off the cold and just picking up the warmth again, and it was like, wow, that's it, for how many years and what we did in design work and, selling the stuff, educating people on it. And to now say, it changed me, it really was an eye opener. So there is that difference in someone understanding or explaining it or installing it even. So, do you think it makes us better as trainers or installers, understanding what comfort is versus heating?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah. I mean, for myself, I remember hanging out with a rep down in Baltimore a bunch of years ago. And I don't remember the circumstances that happened, but we ended up in a bar for a couple hours. I think we were supposed to do a training class, but something didn't happen.
Blame it on the weather.
Down there. Yeah.
Blame it bad weather. Bad weather.
It could have been. It really could have been because I know he lived near the airport down there in Baltimore, and that's where I normally stayed down. Hotel Row was right there in Baltimore, and so he was hanging out with me, and I don't know, I was about 3 or 4 Manhattans in, and he says to me, he's like, Dave, I've seen you do training classes for so many years, and every time you get up in front of everybody, you have this same passion that you do with a training class. How do you do that? And, of course, now, 4 Manhattans into it, I said, all I want is for people to be as comfortable in their house as I am in mine.
Interesting, right?
So, my house now is, I've tried to do everything possible into my house to make it the most comfortable home I can. And going with radiant floor heating and modulation of everything and trying to get it as comfortable as possible. So, so that was one of the things I remember saying. He turns to me and he goes, dude, really? And I'm like, sorry, it's the drinks, man.
I think it's true. It's kind of like, it just makes it right and then there's wrong. I mean, there's good, better, best. And why would you ever settle for anything less in your own home or, what we try to promote? You make good money. And I see the opposite side. I see I walk in, I go, I can't believe someone got paid to install this, like, holy crap, These poor people, they call me up because it's the name on the thermostat, but then I look at the rest of the system, it's like Home Depot. And I'm like, oh no, this is just not good. So, you want what we can do in the best, foot forward kind of approach. And it really it rewards everybody every day they turn the heat on or every time they experience it. So it's good stuff.
I see that with a lot of good installers out there too. The good installers when they do it in their own house first.
Well, that's what I always say.
Before they try something on a customer, they're putting it in their house first before they make a decision. I want to experience taking it out of the box, installing it, setting it up, making it work in my own home before I offer this to a customer. And those are the same guys that you need to touch and feel it and see what it's like. So,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I got so many valves in my boiler room. It's not even funny. So this way I can pull stuff out and beta test something for somebody at the factory. So that's a fun job to have, but it's also a scary job for a guy that lives on the road as much as I do.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm 100%. I tell that all the time. I mean, try this for yourself. Go home. Like with heat loss. Heat loss is one of the things. I go, thinking about what I'm telling you, for yourself to become a believer. Go home and measure your element. Look at your baseboard BTU, your boiler BTU output. Listen to the boiler short cycling. I start triggering those little things for them to live in their own house and go, holy crap, I didn't ever realize that word comfort isn't just skin temperature, right? Sound, light, smell. And all those things are encompassing. So what we can do for them, it's amazing. So I have a question, and this is something I wanted to ask, what is your go-to product in the Taco product line? Anything you really promote or feel second to none in the market with Taco? Is there something that really sticks out as you walk the floor when you used to give tours and always stopped for some reason, regardless?
Oh God. There's so many different avenues when I'm at the factory, because one, my previous life being a machinist, when I go to the factory floor, I just love being out there and seeing the stuff, and especially some of the old things that we still make today, like the 570 series zone valves. Those are still cool to see being made. All the circuitry that they're doing together right there on the factory floor. Um, you know,
Not
the
one?
Do I
Not one.
do I have one? No, because every one of them is unique.
Okay.
When you see the 007 line and
Mhm.
how much automation has been added to it, but still how many hands that touch a 007.
Okay.
When it comes to all the other 00s, how much people touch stuff on a regular basis there in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah, the
think,
007 forever will be a
yeah.
Takeo, a signature for Takeo for sure, right?
Oh yeah,
They'll, they'll
definitely.
never they'll never release that model number. So, the
No,
one item for me is the eye valve. I got to say that is such a sleeper of an item that we in the world of comfort, man, what that does for us and the flexibility and to drive
hmm
zones. I mean, I just look at that thing. I'm saying, why aren't we killing it with that item? It's such a great item for us, especially when we did the radiant and thermostatic mixing valve. Okay, Ronco, set it and forget it. You're not delivering comfort if you're setting it at 130 for a design day of 0 out. So now you have this modulating mixing device that's going to see, the Al Roker. We kicked Ronco out, the set and forget it guy. Then we put Al Roker in there, and he's telling you the temperature outside, and he's driving this valve to deliver comfort again. I'm like, that is so cool, man.
yeah,
That is a nice item right there.
it
And
is.
think
It is
about
pretty
and
cool.
think about how many different color heads that comes in.
Yeah.
So
But also
some
think about this for a second too, because I do like talking about the eye valve a lot when I do training classes, and some classes I've done in the past where I'll talk about it to some people, and it's the first time they ever heard it, and they're like, "Man, that
2001.
is," yeah. They're like, "When's that coming out?"
Yeah. 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so you guys know, I asked our friends here, what are their favorite products? So one of the first ones that popped up is the BT 2218.
There you go. Right. Who said that, Rick?
It's our friend, Mr. McGrath.
Very good. Yeah, I got to
Oh
say the
yeah.
VT, going back to the Bumblebee, so that's my next question, Are you a
Yeah.
Delta T or a Delta P? Any preference?
Oh, I'm a T guy all day.
T
Delta
guy
T
all
all day.
day. Me too.
All day. I mean, I'll do the training class, and at the end of the day, some people will come up to me and say, "All right, so you showed us all these different circulators. What would you do? What would you
Yeah.
put in your house?" And I said, "Well, what's in my house, our VT 2218, is Delta T pumps. So
Yeah.
I have one 2218 in my house, and I also have a 006 VDT circulator in my house.
VDT. Okay. Variable.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Sure.
that's also a temperature control, because the VT was too big of a circulator for the zone that I was putting it on.
Mm,
So it wouldn't have modulated enough. It was just the radiant from my first floor of the house. So the
right.
006 VDT actually fit the bill a heck of a lot better. That actually, um, I kind of made myself.
Okay. All
I
right.
took a
Great.
006 and I took a 008 VDT, and I took the controller out and swapped it on. I was building that in my garage. So
You're a freak.
So,
yeah.
Mr. Holdoff here, I got a great comment here from Mr. McGrath. I love this. If pressure was so important, it would be part of the hydronics formula.
There you go. I love it.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
I do like both. I'm a big Delta T guy, so I like the VT pump. But where I took advantage of the 1816 is because I had a very small loop of baseboard, and with the selector switch for the fixed speed on that side, the lowest was a 003. And man, that quiet my boiler, it was just what a difference. Talk about sound now being part of the comfort equation. And when I reduced that from a 007, right? I mean, I got
Yep.
10 feet of baseboard, one single circuit in the Four Seasons room, and man, I just I'm like, what's going on? Boil, turn on, turn off. You're playing Al Roker now. Like, what temperature's outside? And then you go, oh, I wonder why. So I
Right.
took the 007 out, put the 1816 in the VR, and man, that boiler is so much more quieter now and just less cycling. It's really good. So
It was a funny experience happened to my in-laws. So my in-laws who lived in Hauppauge, where I live now, actually, but going back, geez, it's got to be about 10 years ago before I moved here. I had swapped out their boiler. They had an old hydrotherm in there, the original, when the house was built in.
We were hydrotherm rep.
I know. So it was a small little 2-section cast iron boiler that was here. The house was built in 1967. It was still the original that was in here.
Beige cover, maybe?
Yeah,
Beige?
it was
Yeah,
a beige color. Yep.
Yeah.
Little 2-section, and there was a standalone water heater next to it. So we pulled that out. I put in a new wall hung condensing boiler, the outdoor sensor on that. I put a Bumblebee in at the time, and modulated everything. Left the baseboard the way it was, still a single zone house. It was a 2-story colonial. And I remember the first cold snap that happened. And I knew it was working just fine, but the really deep cold snap happened, and I'm away. And I call over here one day, and I'm looking for my wife. And I knew she was here at my in-laws' house. I'm who knows where. My mother-in-law answers the phone, and I ask her, I said, "Oh, by the way, how's the heat?" And she says, "Oh, yeah, I'm not sure it's working." I'm like, and you know what happens in about 3 seconds? How many thoughts go through your head? I'm like, all right, I got to give Anthony a call, somebody at Wales Derby, because I know they're not far away, and who can come over, take a look at it, tell me what's going on, And I'm like, wait a minute, before I go too crazy, Mom, what's the temperature in the house?
Right.
She says, well, it's 69 degrees. I said, well, what do you have the thermostat set for? And she said, 69. If you do the math, that's working. And I said, all right, so what do you mean by it not working? What are you afraid of? She's like, I don't hear it anymore.
Right. The lack of noise.
Away. You didn't hear the boiler banging on and off. You didn't hear the pipes heating up and cooling down. And this house was so over-radiated that the maximum water temperature that I needed to send out to this house was 155 with fin tube baseboard.
Right. Yeah,
and I got it down to about 125. Yeah.
That's real comfort. I said real comfort. Feels good and you don't hear it.
Yep. It disappeared. It disappeared after that. Yep.
So do you prefer zone by circ or zone by zone valve? You have a preference?
Yes.
Excellent. Me too.
It depends. Yeah.
I guess
as the Takeo guy, doesn't matter because we have both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no, me personally, I am a zone valve guy, only because I know what the capacity is of a 007.
Yeah.
I know how big of a pump is, and nobody believes it's a big pump. When I tell everybody saying, hey, dude, that's a 230,000 BTU circulator.
At what head though?
A 0 foot ahead, but still.
Right.
A quarter of a million BTUs that you can do with one 007.
Right.
So you can do that house that has a 60,000 BTU load with one circ on it all day.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So, and I understand, you go back 40 years ago, it was one zone in the house.
Mm.
Today, what's the norm for number of zones?
4?
There is no norm. Right? What is the norm for, no, there is no such thing as normal zones anymore.
I was saying, Norm lives next door. He's the guy next door.
Just over the fence, yeah.
Just over the fence. Oh, that's great.
So.
Yeah, I think we see a lot more. I think we see a lot more micro zones now than we did, ever before.
Oh, heck yeah, definitely. And that's because people want more control over their house.
Yeah. I honestly feel if we had Delta P when we did as much radiant with Aquastats and all that stuff, man, that would have been such a game changer even back, for us back then,
Mm-hmm.
to have that, that thermostatic mixing and then, everything had a pump, whether you're a zone by manifold guy or zone with Aquastats. I can't tell you how many guys I don't do Aquastats. I'm like, well, why not? I mean, it's a zone and you say that zoning thing and they get all, like, I'm a circ guy. I'm like, oh, okay. Listen, I'll sell you whatever you want. I'll package it however you want to look at it. But there's a better way, because like Rick was saying, there's micro zones or micro loads, and stuff like that. So, but technology is definitely in overdrive right now. I see that coming down the pipe with a lot of things that just recently, right? I mean, we have apps now. I mean, we talked about the research stuff. I mean, is that something we're, releasing anytime soon? Can you spill the beans on that as I'm kind of pulling it out of you?
I'm sorry, what was that? I was just reading a couple of the comments. I'm sorry, I missed you there.
Well, I want to make sure that, Takeo is doing a lot of things with technology, and they're putting it in the palm of our hands in the way of apps for sizing, for things of that nature. We have a circulator now that we can actually dial it in with our fingertips. It's no longer just turning it on and seeing a pressure level, or turning it on and letting GPMs meet wherever the pump curve and the system curve intersect. We now can dial that thing in. That's the 0018E. That is a Bluetooth, a piece of equipment we have now. Lights now, that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool.
Right. The connectivity part is a big deal at Takeo. So there is a lot of conversation that happens in connectivity and having better control out of the products that we have and making them true systems. Because that's the way we want to look at it. We always want to, we're not just going to make parts and parts and parts. We want to make systems. So how everything starts to communicate to each other is really important. But then there's also a point of diminishing returns, right? Do you really need to have a zone valve connected to the internet?
Okay.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But so, we're going to be smart about it too at the same time.
Right.
Do we need to make it connected? But maybe we make it connected that connects to a controller rather than, I can look at my zone valve on my phone. No, homeowners don't need to look at that. So
maybe a zone valve controller that gets wired to has some kind of, reporting or something like that. Maybe cycle.
Right. Yeah. So there'll be so the information about, say, cycle count would be important. So, we know that a zone valve has a certain number of cycles, and if it reaches that point, then how about we send you a message, or the next time a contractor's on the job site, he says, we're getting near the end of its life. We got to keep an eye on it. We don't have to replace it today, but that's your choice, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner.
Sure.
But it's getting near the end of its life period. So
giving you a heads up. Yeah, giving you a heads up. Right.
Right. Those are the type of things that we're talking about. Now, the product managers at Takeo try not to tell me too much stuff because they know I'm the guy that talks to everybody. So
that's why I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you.
Leave a lot of things out. So what I do know is probably in the next 5 years, you're going to see like 90 new products come out of Takeo.
That's crazy.
Now some of them might be a modification of an existing product, but it is a lot of new stuff coming. A lot of new stuff.
Well, this is nothing new to Takeo. I gotta say, when that iValve and that time, there was so much being launched on the market. I think that's one of the reasons why it was just 3, 4, 5 new items a year for like 4 years in a row. It was a lot coming at us. And I think going back now, thinking at that time, that's why the iValve kind of took a back seat,
Yeah, and then as the whole market changed and how Radiant changed too at the same time, and then the boilers changed, the iValve also kind of disappeared too. So a lot of people say, well, I don't need it because I got a modulating boiler. No, not true. The boiler's doing boiler reset. The mixing valve is doing load reset. So you've got two different animals right there that can actually work well together.
Yeah, absolutely. And how are you guys doing? And obviously the building here, this beautiful building you have, is anyone in it? Anyone going to it? Like, what's going on in the offices? Or training is not happening. You guys have been doing the Takeo After Darks and the Takeo Tuesdays, and
Yeah, all us trainers are online, and as many people as possible that can work from their home office are. Manufacturing, we never shut down, but we ended up reducing our capacity almost 40% for quite a while. It was almost a month that we were down to about a 40% capacity, just so we could try to get to the social distancing guidelines and keep people separated. And also there were a lot of people that didn't feel comfortable or safe going to work, because we do have almost 500 people in that building. So they had we gave everybody the choice, take the day off, take the time off.
Okay.
If you personally don't feel comfortable coming to work, you stay home.
You hear that, Jimmy Stein? Take the day off, he said. I'm taking the day off. This is it. I'm signing off. You won't see me for a month. Goodbye. Anyway, listen, we're coming into the home stretch. We got 5 minutes.
Yep.
I want to ask you, because of that training. I mean, we've been holding our own and watching you guys, as the support and what you always trickle down. The stuff comes from you, comes to us, and it goes outward. And you do a good job yourself. Way we travel and do things around, here from Montauk to Manhattan, and what the guys in Jersey are doing, upstate, downstate, and all that good stuff. So, you guys, I got to say, it's always been a learning thing for us. Myself personally, I'm saying, for listening to what you guys are doing, whether it be in that building on the picture or what we're seeing on the screens now. And you and I, we interact a lot. We talk a lot. We live close enough. We kind of bump into each other, or we go play golf and things like that. So, but I just want to say thank you. I think you guys definitely bring so much of what the latest and greatest and what people need to hear, because it needs to change. There's change every day with a lot of things, but what we do in business, sometimes we get that horse blinders on, and we need to be able to listen a little bit, listen twice as much as we speak sometimes. That's difficult with the local market here. I can say that to be true. So, we do our best, and I do want to thank you for all that you guys share and support us with that. So,
our pleasure. And Johnny at Takeo really lets us trainers do what we need to do too at the same time. And that's been such an important way that he goes to business, the way that he does it at the factory itself. So, when you look at this picture here from your PowerPoint slide, right at the bottom of that building, the cornerstone of the addition that was put on there, the dedication of the addition of the IDC was to the Takeo employees, and that it was to the HVAC industry too. So it was important to do that. So he lets us do what we need to do.
What is it? What does the plaque say? I'm sorry. Did you say it? Or?
It is dedicated at first to the employees of Takeo, and then to the HVAC industries, because that's our training center. That's the IDC, the Innovation and Development Center. So he wanted to dedicate it to the employees, because a lot of employee training happens there, and education, not just training, but also education. So up to an MBA coming out of there. If you wanted to get an MBA while working for Takeo, you can. And then second was the industry. Right. Kind of an interesting way to think about it, because most people want to hear that the employee comes first, and to Johnny, that the customer comes first. To Johnny, it's the employee comes first. Yeah.
He's a smart man. You got those people in that support and that mentality. They're going to work. They're going to do the right job. They're going to, keep it going. So that's really good, even tough times or not. So
good place to be.
Yeah. So, any questions, Rick? Anything that we want to maybe do before we're doing pretty well?
That's it. We got our comments out there.
Yeah. Please, before we say goodnight, and that we have a couple of questions, if you guys want to put them up before we do that, take the takeaways. That the catalog is a tremendous resource. Anything you have questions, something in there you'd never heard or seen. We got a lot of new products coming out. Press fittings all over now. How are you doing with press? That's something you're going to see more. Are we going to have everything Takeo press?
So, yeah. If we have a brand new product introduced, we might offer it in the standard sweat and threaded versions first, just to see how it goes from there. But we always, in the wings, we already have a press version being worked on, just to see what happens from there. But I think from here on out, I don't think we need to do the trial period for a product. I think we're going to introduce it in press anyway. So a lot of people are accepting that as a viable option nowadays.
Absolutely.
There's still some of those holdouts out there, that don't want to do it, and that's fine.
Well, we know going top.
Yeah.
We know that from, copper to PEX guys too. There's still those, old school guys, and they're going to do what they want. And, eventually maybe there'll be a force of the hand to do something different, but it takes a long time. So the press, I think, is going to be like that approach. It's not going to go away. It's only going to get bigger and more and more. So.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So yeah, we're adding that to a lot of our products too. Yep.
Dave, I mean, we're hitting that hour mark. I think it's only fair to say we can do this for an hour. I want to thank you. It's good to see you, my friend, again, and Rick, and thank you for the back support there, and everybody else for joining us tonight. I want to say thank you, and I hope you all are well, and hope to see you all again. So thank you for joining us on this inside look with Takeo. So that's it for
my
me.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And if there's anything else, certainly reach out to us at Wales Derby. I'm going to give you email. You can hit J Frey, that's JFREY at walesderby.com. This guy is so talented with the amount of knowledge this guy has in his head. He pulls stuff out. He doesn't even go to the filing cabinets. I mean, he just knows numbers. So anything technical, especially on venting, he's the venting guru for Wales Derby. You want to know about polypropylene and what we do, and J Frey at walesderby.com. He is the man. With that, I will say good night. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
Take care.